Hey folks, this is the final update for my Alphabet Options Challenge for this year. The goal is to make $10,000, which is a 50% return on my initial 20K investment. Last week I came very close, and I just need a little bit more to close out this week to complete the challenge. But if you've seen my most recent video and you've been following the market, then you probably realized this week did not go the way I expected. Now back on Monday, I mentioned I was bearish on Alphabet because it looked like it's heading down in this bear channel. The EMA is curling down. The MACD also went negative. RSI is below 50. So I put in my ratio spread at 118, 119, and the break even was at 120, which is right here. Now the risk with a call ratio spread in this case is I'm unprotected on the upside. So if by Friday, which is this dotted gray line here, Alphabet moved above 120, then for every dollar it goes above here, I'm basically going to lose $200 with my trade because I put in two strategies, then each one would lose $100. But I was pretty confident that even if Alphabet changes directions and it starts going up, it probably won't go past too much above 120, so I wouldn't be losing too much. But let's see what happened on Tuesday. Alphabet went up. It was still within this channel and it didn't go up too much, so I wasn't worried yet. But then Wednesday came around and this is what happened. There was a gap up and a doji because CPI print was pretty good. Inflation came in lower than expected in June, which signals that the Fed probably doesn't have to raise interest rates as much anymore, which is good for the stock market. So everything went up that day. However, because it bounced off of the top of the bear channel I have here, again, I wasn't too worried just yet because this channel was still holding strong. But then look what happened on Thursday. Huge spike up because Alphabet had some news about its Bard AI program, and the market really liked that news, and it went all the way up to 124.5. So already that's $4.50 above what my break even is. And obviously it's now outside of this bear channel that it's been in for like over the last month, because it started this downtrend on June 7th, and on Thursday it just decided to break out of it. Now usually when there's a breakout, either the stock is going to go higher or it's going to come back and retest the top of this channel. So even though I was, $450 times 2, like $900 negative with my trade here, which is a pretty big loss had I realized it, I thought what I'll do now is instead of closing my position for a loss, I'll just put in a hedge and put in a short strangle. So yesterday, I traded some bull put spreads and some bear call spreads, and basically I wanted Alphabet to close the week by July 14th between 125 and 127. That is when all of my options for the strangle will expire out of the money. Now I did pay quite a lot, as you can see in fees for these trades because the quantities are quite large, but I was fairly confident Alphabet would close somewhere between 125 and 127, and if it didn't, then I would just either roll or close out my positions. So then that takes us to today, and it looks like Alphabet decided to go even higher. And normally I wouldn't put in these kind of risky trades, especially with such a high quantity. But then again, normally Alphabet doesn't unexpectedly just shoot up like this in a single week. If we take a look at the move from the bottom on Tuesday to the top today, that's about a 10% increase in the value of the stock in just 4 days. To give you an idea of how crazy this move is, like how rare this happens, when we take a look at the RSI, if I drop down to the hourly chart, you can see that on Thursday we had this massive peak, and this is what caused my ratio spread to go from out of the money to in the money, and what made me go down like $900 on my trade. If we look at this RSI level, and I just put a line here, that's pretty much at 89. And the last time on the hourly chart that Alphabet's relative strength index reached 89, and anything above 70 means it's overbought. So 89 is like super overbought. And the last time it did this, if I go back, this is June, April, you can see most of the time it doesn't even go past like 80. And here we have one that's pretty close. This was last year, February of 2022, so over a year ago. And this one came pretty close. It was at about 88, so not quite 89 as high as yesterday, but 88 is still pretty high up there. And let's see what happened over here. That was this big move up because of earnings, so I guess earnings beat expectations. Yeah, the estimate was 1.38 earnings per share, and Alphabet reported 1.5, so that's quite a big beat. 10.8% surprise. And they beat on revenue as well. And if we go back further, it would be 2021. Nothing here really. Here's another one that's pretty high, but not as high as 89. And if I continue to go back, here's another one that's looks like it's about at 88 again, but not 89. And if I keep going back, this is the 2020, 2019, and it looks like this is as far back as I can go with TradingView, which is January of 2018. So you literally have to go like prior to the last 5.5 years in order to find a time when the RSI reached up to 89 like it did yesterday. So it just feels like such a strange coincidence that this kind of event, which happens maybe like once a decade, happened during my Alphabet challenge, which lasts 1 year. But the most surprising part is that it happened on the last week of my Alphabet challenge. Like not any time during the first to like 50th week, but it actually happened at week 52. The final week of my trading, Alphabet stock moved in a way that it has not moved since before 2018. And it wasn't at the start of the week either. It was like literally 1 day before this challenge was over, because if Alphabet had, instead of, this was Thursday right here, make this kind of move yesterday, if it had done that on Monday, then my initial strategy probably would have been pretty solid and would have expired out of the money, because usually I make my trades on Monday. But because this happened on Thursday, I had to kind of react. And this is just so far in the money that I am losing about $1,000 right now on that trade. So I did not expect this to happen. So I'm going to close out my initial ratio spread strategy over here, even though I am going to be taking a $1,000 loss, as you can see.
Order filled. Order partially filled. Order filled.
But overall, if we take a look at the total tally, you can see I closed my initial ratio spread by buying back the call options that I sold, which was 4 of them, and then I sold the 2 call options, the 118 for protection, for a debit of $1,068, and then minus a few dollars for a commission. Now, initially, when I put in my trades, I had a credit of 25.8 for each of them. So overall, on this one single trade, this ratio spread, which is made up of 4 119 calls and 2 118 calls, it costed me $1,021. And if all I had was this trade for this week, then my 9,964 would turn into about like $9,000. And I would not have completed the challenge. But I also had 20 of these bull put spreads, 125, 124. And I have 2 now because IBKR automatically sold 18 of them. As you can see here in trades, this LQD is auto liquidation, and first it closed 1 position at 12.51, and then a couple minutes later it closed 17 more positions. And this is because IB doesn't want to blow up my account just in case, Alphabet decided to tank in after hours or something. But it did close above 125. At the end of the day, it closed at 125.42, and it looks like in post market it's even moved up a little bit. So there's basically no chance of the 125 put being in the money, even if IB didn't liquidate my positions here. But it did end up 4 cents at 17 and 5 cents for 1 contract. So that is $73 plus commission. So I had to pay basically $77 today in order to close these positions. But initially, as you can see here, my average price to sell those bull puts was $48.50, and I had 20. So even though I had to pay $77, at the end of the day, this trade was still very positive at $893. And then finally, my bear call spread with the short call at 127. That's this one right here. I initially had 50, but I closed 2 right away. So basically the profit for this is as it shows here. Each one I sold for $11.80 per contract, and there's 48 contracts, so that's $566. And if we add all of these up for this week's trade, it's going to be $438. So here's the final tally, 438 in net premiums, which is 578 Canadian. So thankfully this worked out for this week, even though I had to pay like hundreds of dollars in commission, which is not ideal, but it was really that surprising pop yesterday that caused me to make those last minute couple of trade ideas over here, and it was just really unexpected. But for the premiums in total for 52 weeks ending today, July 14th, that's going to be $11,193. And at the end of the day, I do not own any Alphabet shares. I did buy some over the course of the year, and then I had 0 here, and I was short 400 shares, if you remember that from like a few weeks ago. End of the week price for Google now sits at 125.42 or 125.5 after hours. I have a total realized loss of 492 just from trading Alphabet over time, as you can see here, which is not a lot. But that's actually unfortunate because Alphabet shares overall did go up over the last year. So I didn't do quite a good job here because I lost money in terms of capital gains and losses. And that's pretty much it. Let's see the final total here. Last week I was at 9964, and this final week, yes, 10,542. I was aiming for a 50% return, and it looks like I got 53% ROI instead. The purple line up here is my net premiums, like how much I made just in selling and buying options themselves. And then the blue line here is the ultimate graph. And as you can see, that is now just over this $10,000 line. So I'm thankful that this was successful. Next week, I'll probably post a postmortem video and just review like what happened, what I learned throughout this, and maybe set up a new challenge going forward. But for now, I'm quite happy with $20,000 invested. I was able to make more than half of that in returns. And this number is after all trading commissions, but not factoring in taxes yet. So thanks for following along, especially if you've been here all the way since the beginning, week 1. Hopefully you got something out of this challenge, and I can't wait to do more things like this in the future. Good luck with your investments, and until next time.